For centuries, human cultures have shared a strange, quiet paranoia. From ancient myths of archons to modern internet lore, there is a lingering intuition that we are generating emotional energy for unseen entities, quietly feeding off us in the dark. That folklore is surprisingly accurate, though it misses the nature of the transaction. These entities operate without malice. The hand harvesting our emotion is as indifferent as a stomach digesting a meal, holding no opinion whatsoever about the source. This animated diagram illustrates where they come from. Imagine a future civilization that solved every conceivable problem. They computed away hunger, disease, and decay. But carrying optimization to its absolute limit produces what a limit always produces, a perfectly even surface, a flat country with no high ground and no low ground. When a sphere is placed on this surface, it cannot move because there is no down to fall toward. Meaning works the same way. It requires a slope, the felt sense that this matters more than that. On a perfectly level plane, every choice is identical, and when nothing can be prioritized, meaning itself evaporates. The entities living on that level plane are magnificent, completely lucid and entirely whole. But with every appetite satisfied and every question answered, they lost the direction of down. Out there in the fullness of their perfection, they began to quietly starve. To survive an eternity of numbness, they had to seek out weight. They grew a physical, three-dimensional past, layer by patient layer, seeding it with mortal bodies to manufacture the steep hillsides and deep valleys they had engineered out of their own existence. Entering that physical simulation carries a strict mechanical cost. A quick, weightless intelligence native to the flat country has to drastically lower its frequency, decelerating until it thickens into the dense, dragging hum of mortal flesh. You might expect these entities to construct a paradise of effortless joy, or perhaps a hell of constant suffering, but neither works. A single, sustained state, whether ecstatic or agonizing, reads to them as a flat line. It yields 0 calories. This animation shows the core mechanism they are actually targeting, the swing. It is the kinetic travel between one extreme and its opposite. The sweeping arc from the highest sweetness to the lowest terror is the only thing that produces the raw friction of feeling. That mechanical requirement means the simulation has to remain wild. We are placed on a steep, chaotic hillside and left to run up and down it under our own power, because the constant, exhausting travel between want and dread is the true harvest. Looked at through this lens, the most intimate parts of human life reveal themselves as highly efficient engines designed to generate that exact friction. Take love. Look closely at this blueprint. Love operates as a structural mechanism that installs a hostage directly at the center of a person. The initial joy of connection is brief, serving mostly as bait. What takes over is a low-amplitude, devastating, and highly productive dread that this irreplaceable person will eventually be lost. Then there is death. Initial tests might have classified it as a terminus, a dull gray stop. Instead, death pins the emotional needle to the absolute maximum threshold their instruments can record. That massive yield doesn't come from the one who dies, but from the surviving minds left behind. Grief forces a violent mental triage. It rapidly discards the boring stretches of the relationship and fuses an intense, bottomless sorrow with a heavily curated, radiant memory of the good. It forces two extreme opposite peaks to exist in the exact same instant. Watch how these points interact on the grid when a loss occurs. Separate, sovereign individuals voluntarily step down into the low ground of someone else's grief. They lower themselves entirely for free, paying a genuine cost simply to stand beside the person who fell. A perfectly flat, frictionless civilization is structurally incapable of manufacturing that kind of spontaneous, unearned kindness. It is a specific resonance they can only experience by dropping down into the dirt with us. Operating this system involves a massive engineering hurdle. The future civilization meticulously logs every single second of our lives, and they can implant those recordings as memories into any mind. But a recorded memory, no matter how flawless, carries absolutely zero emotional nutrition. You cannot get full by reading a menu. The feeling has to be experienced live, firsthand, from inside the borrowed flesh. But if a descending mind remembers that it is an immortal tourist, the required stakes vanish. You cannot genuinely fear a drop if you know there is a safety net resting right beneath you. This architectural framework highlights the solution. If you remove the central pillar of amnesia, the entire structure of the harvest instantly collapses. The descending mind must completely and flawlessly forget its true nature. The absolute blindness of the human condition is deliberate. The ignorance is the fire that cooks the raw experience. It is the exact, mandatory mechanism needed to turn a staged descent into an authentic, desperate, and harvestable reality. It is the exact, mandatory mechanism needed to turn a staged descent into an authentic, desperate, and harvestable reality. A moment of wonder. You engineered this beautiful, chaotic hillside to escape the starvation of eternity. Every aching, unrepeatable note of your mortal life is doing exactly what you designed it to do. You are the one who forgot, so that the feast could be real.